And welcome back. On April the 10th, a Bronx suicide prevention event will take place. And joining us with all the details, we have Brett Scudder, President, Chairman, Founder of Scudder Intervention Services Foundation. Welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming by and
Thank
sharing
you.
with what you're going to be sharing.
Yes.
Tell us about your organization.
So we're an organization that focuses primarily around depression and suicide, helping people who are challenged by life struggles, trauma, different things that are happening. And so we continue working outside the norm, changing the paradigm of how we provide services to people who are in crisis and distress.
And some of the services that you do have.
With trauma-informed care, emotional pain-informed care, people who are dealing with addiction, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, gun violence. What are the trauma that they experience when things like this happen, and how do they get the help and services? People don't come to us, we go to them. And that's what makes us so unique when we provide mental health services to people. We take the services to them where they're at.
You're on the ground with your sleeves rolled up.
Ready to roll.
Taking it to them.
Ready to roll.
Yeah. What are the biggest problems that you find that we have in our community?
We don't want to talk about suicide. We don't want to talk about suicide because we're afraid of it. We're afraid of the fear of people dying. But it's not just about people dying. We have 4-year-old children right now who have attempted suicide and are telling their parent they want to die.
4 years old.
4-year-old children. So when you think about that and you're saying to yourself, well, what does a 4-year-old know about taking their life or killing themselves? But we're not understanding the experiences and the environment a lot of our children are living in. Times are getting very hard. A lot of things are being talked about. They're watching TVs. They're seeing things on video games. No one is helping them to translate the difference between the virtual and the physical. And so now we have a lot of people who are affected by just life, and they're hiding in the shadows. They're suffering in silence because no one wants to be judged. No one wants to be labeled.
And there's a stigma attached to it.
It's a very bad stigma. Unfortunately, that stigma is now what's driving the Department of Health's report that was just published last week that says over 500,000 New Yorkers are living with depression. That's 9% of the population of New York City, and we're still not talking about that. We can't talk about depression without suicide because they both go together.
So how do you go out and deal with that? How do you tackle that?
So the stigma is one of the biggest challenges that we face. But then when you meet with someone in an intimate setting where they're at, the conversation becomes different.
Yeah.
So it's not you coming out to a health center or community center or the emergency room or a doctor's office. It's us coming to you in your home, at work, or at school, wherever you're at. So you're comfortable. You're private. No one sees you. No one knows what you're going through. We can have that conversation. So we're able to share with people safety tips, resources, best practices of how they can help themselves to deal with the challenges that they're going through.
Wow, because nobody's really going to try to step up and come seek help all the time.
I'm a suicide attempt survivor, Bob. I live with depression. I deal with it every day. And I tell people it's not something that you can see. You look at me right now, would you ever tell that I'm someone who's struggling with depression?
Tell us about your experience. So what happened?
I went through a very rough time in my life. And in my life, I was in a very dark place. And people that I was working with, no one knew. I went into the mental health system and the systems of care for help, and it made my life worse. It made me feel worse about myself. And I recognize that this topic of suicide is something that we're so afraid and ashamed of that we don't know how to address it. Yeah. So that's how I started my organization, to be a difference because I live with the experience.
So you've been through it. You've been through it.
I've been there, Bob. I've been in the dark place.
So what do you tell others who are experiencing that same feeling that you've been through?
Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Don't dress up nicely to cover the pain that you're going through. Don't try to let people feel like you're all that when you know you're hurting. It's more important to take care of the hurt that you're going through than for what people to think about you. Yeah. So we have a lot of people who are masking their pain. You would never know that they're going through pain. You never know they're in depression. You never know they're struggling with opioids and addiction. But you tie all that together and it comes down to someone ultimately wanting to die or wanting to kill themselves.
Fed up.
We have more people who are just tired of living. More people fear living now than dying. Isn't that sad?
That's very sad.
And we live in one of the greatest cities in the world, but there's a deeper, darker side to the city that no one wants to talk about.
Yeah, and it's always amazing to wonder why somebody would want to take the only life they're ever going to have.
It's hard to think about it, Bob, but it's easier when you're living the experience to know that that's your everyday thought. For the pain to end, for the misery. Life is too hard. Yeah. Cost of living is going up. People are being used, victimized, traumatized every day. People are afraid to walk out of their homes. You know, we have a very stressful transportation system. And if your first job in the morning is to get to work, and your experience on the public transportation system is a horrible one, you haven't even gotten to work yet. So your whole day is thrown off.
But wait, there's God, and then there's you, and you have an event coming up. Tell us about it.
So we started the Suicide Network about 3 years ago. We pitched the idea that we needed to focus more around suicide and the things that are causing people to get to that state. Depression, addiction, the opioid crisis that we're dealing with right now is a lot of people are in pain. It's not an opioid crisis, it's a pain crisis we have. People are in pain and they're tired. So on April 10th, we're gathering all kinds of different resources, providers, law enforcement, Department of Health, the city agencies, people on the ground, and say, look, we're going to tackle this issue. Together, as a borough, we are going to focus on this because it is a very serious issue. Yeah. If younger and younger children are now finding themselves in a state of being depressed and no one is still talking about it, who is going to address that? Because we don't have mental health services for children between 4 and 9.
So come out because people are going to find out about all the things,
resources,
how they can get in, how they can get out of what they've gotten into.
Mm-hmm.
And if they know somebody that's involved in that type of pain, you know, usually your best friend or family members would know that somebody's in trouble or leaning to a certain area.
We have a 24/7 crisis lifeline, and we're right here in the Bronx. Mm-hmm. So this is our home borough. We cover the whole city, but this is our home borough. So we're here, local to the Bronx. We will come to you. You don't have to come to us. If you know someone who is hurting, you know someone who's thinking of killing themselves, or someone who's struggling with depression, give us a call. We can definitely work with you to help.
What's the number?
It's 917
917
651
651
1889.
1889.
And it's 24/7.
24/7.
Yes. The website is sisfi.org.
Say it again.
sisfi.org.
Thank you so much. Give him a big round of applause, everybody. Brett Scudder, President, Chairman, Founder, SISFI. Give him a call, 917-651-1889. 917-651-1889. All right, Brett, we're going to have to take a quick break right here, but very great information. Thank you for sharing that with us, and I'm glad that you're out there. God's working
Thank you,
something
Bob.
serious through you.
Thank you.
You got the blessings, and you're going to extend those blessings.
Thank
We'll
you.
be right back after this.